Storytime about how I crashed my dad's really expensive car. So a little background information. My mom had just got remarried to my stepdad 3 years ago, and he was this rich asshole who owned a bunch of food trucks and thought he was the shit. Well, at the time I also had a boyfriend. And we had only been dating for like a month and a half. But my boyfriend would always beg me to let him drive my stepdad's car. And I always said no because that was like his child. Like he had children. He could care less about them. His car was more important. Anyway, so the one weekend my parents are out of town and one of my friends was throwing a graduation party. So that whole day my boyfriend was trying to talk me into taking the car. And I already knew where my stepdad hid the keys. So I just decided I wouldn't drink that night and I would just take the car. He kept asking me if he could drive, but clearly I said no, because this kid literally told me that he crashed the first 2 cars that he had. So we get to the party, we're having a good time, and one of my friends tells me that everybody's taking pictures with my car outside. Like for part 2.
Storytime PT3. It was a day before Sunday, and I kept texting them. One of them replied and said to just send her deposit back. The deposit was non-refundable and the girl got mad, but she seen my policy. I ended up telling them she didn't have to pay the rest anymore to forget it. A day after, I go on my Snapchat and see that she bought her boyfriend a PS5. A whole PS5, y'all. They were just trying to mess with my time and money, but never again.
You guys are not even going to believe it when I say that when I was 15, I almost became a stepmom. Yes, we did skip a few chapters, so let's start from the beginning of the book. Back in the day, in middle school, there was this new bad boy in town. And for the purpose of the story, his name will be Dean. So Dean was a little bit older, but he would date some of the middle school girls. A little sus, I know, but even beyond this man had a bad reputation. And I did my best to stay away from guys like him. That was until the second quarter of my sophomore year in high school happened. And while my mom and I were walking around Walmart looking for a pair of jeans, we ran into Dean's mom. Well, our mom started talking and bonded really well. And that's when his mom suggested that we would be a really cute couple. She talked about how much he's changed, so I went ahead and added him on Snap. And the insane thing is that we actually started having really good conversation, like deep existential ones. But one night I was bored and started to creep on his Instagram account, and I came across a gender reveal photo. This man had a whole son on the way, and I accidentally liked the photo, and that's when I got a text from Dean saying, "Go ahead, ask me."
Girls, tell me about a time where your quick thinking probably saved your life. I'll go first. 2 years ago, I was walking my dog at the park, and a man approached me and asked to take a picture of her. And I said yes, because why not? It's a picture of a dog. So he starts taking a picture of my dog, and then I realized that he was like holding up her collar, and then it hit me. My address is on that collar. He's not taking a picture of my dog, he's taking a picture of my address. So I told him that I actually didn't feel comfortable with him having a picture of my dog, and I asked him to delete it. So he deletes it and then like starts walking away really fast. And I was like, "Excuse me, sir, no, could you also go into your deleted album and delete it from there?" And he goes, "I don't have a deleted album." And I was like, "You have an iPhone. Everybody has a deleted album. Could you please delete the picture?" And he was like, "Sorry, I don't have a deleted album," and like keeps walking away. And keep in mind, this is like 2 p.m. in a park. Like there's other people around. So now I'm like chasing after him and I'm telling him, "Sir, I know you have the album. I will show you where the album is."
Story time! So this one time I was dating this guy and we had been dating for about 6 months. This one day when we were hanging out, I noticed that he kept checking his phone, but I decided to just brush it off. After that, every single time we would hang out, he would be doing the same thing and kept checking his phone. Eventually I got frustrated.
I have another story. A few years ago, my friends and I went to my parents' house in LA because we went to college in Orange County, which is like an hour away. But my parents were out of town, so we were like, let's go to LA for a night. So we go to LA, and then we decided to go to a USC football game. So we call an Uber, we go to the game, and after the game, I realized that I couldn't find my house keys anywhere. So I figured that I must have left them in the Uber just because I didn't open my bag at all during the game, so I didn't see how they would have fallen out. So they must have fallen out in the Uber when we first got in after I left my house. So I called the Uber driver, and at first he didn't pick up the phone. And eventually he picked up the phone, and I was like, "Hi, I think I forgot something in your car." And he goes, "I don't have your keys." And I was like, "I didn't say I lost my keys." "But yeah, I did. Are you sure you don't have them?" And he was like, no, sorry. And then he hung up the phone, and then he stopped picking up. So my friends and I were like, "Well, that's sketchy. He definitely has my house keys, and he knows where I live because he picked us up from there. But whatever, let's just go back home and try to figure it out." I have to do part 2. Part 2. So we go back to my parents' house and we go inside through the garage because I had a code you could do to go in, and everything inside the house seemed normal. Like, it didn't seem like anyone broke in. So we were like, okay, that's a good sign. But I was like, I'm still gonna put the house alarm on just in case while we sleep. So I put the alarm on, we go and get ready for bed, and as we're getting ready for bed, the alarms trip. So we were like, he's here. He has my house keys. He knows where I live. The Uber guy is here. So we're all freaking out. And then my friend goes, hello? And we were like, no, why would you do that? They do that in movies and then they die. Now he knows where we're located. So we're mad at my friend. We're crying. The alarms are still going off. There's probably a man downstairs with a knife. And eventually the alarm company calls my phone and they're like, hi, your alarms are going off and you still haven't turned them off. Do you want us to send someone? And I was like, yes, please send someone. I think there's an intruder in the house. So they sent the cops. The cops did a sweep. They didn't find anyone. They said that the alarms probably scared them off, so we're probably fine. Anyway, that's the end of the story. We're too scared to sleep there that night, so we drove back to Orange County, and yay for alarm. Story time. So my high school used to organize these school trips, and there was a list of places you could choose to go to. And the list was amazing. It was like, go to Italy and learn how to cook fresh pasta, or go to the south of France, learn how to scuba dive, or go to Morocco. Like, honestly, the list was insane. But one of the things on the list was go to a survival camp in Scotland. For some reason, my friends and I chose that one. Not the south of France, not Italy, not Morocco. Survival camp in Scotland in October. So we're 15 years old and we're off to Scotland. It was like an 8-hour journey. We arrive, it's 6 p.m., 7 p.m. So we settle in, we have dinner. And after dinner, we're like, okay, we're probably going to go to sleep. And survival is going to start tomorrow since it's 10 p.m. and this is a school trip. No. After dinner, the organizer comes up and goes, everybody, put on some shorts. We're going for a run. So we are now running through a forest at 10 p.m. It's raining. It's 4 degrees. I have to do a part 2. Part 2. So we're running through the forest. We don't know where we're going. We don't know how long the run is going to last for. Let me just show you a picture. 1 second. That's me on the run. And that's me from the back. So we're running, and eventually we arrive at this giant lake. And the organizer goes, jump in and swim across it. It's freezing. We are in our clothes. But so we jump in. We swim across it, except it wasn't really swimming. My legs weren't numb. It was more of a trying to get to the other side. So eventually we get to the other side. And then we have to run back to our lodging, soaking wet. Let me show you some more pictures. That's me after the lake. I'm smiling, but I was crying inside. That's us on our run back. That's me over there, right there. And that was the first evening of our survival camp. We were there for 5 days. Usually my stories raise some sort of awareness. This one doesn't at all. It's just a story that I want to share because it just makes me laugh.
Did you and your parents ever play games together? When Jasmine was younger, something strange happened. One night, her mother checked up on her while she was sleeping, but it wasn't the way that you usually think. She woke up in the middle of the night with a strange feeling that someone or something had been watching her. She looked up and saw that her mother was just standing there, smiling and staring at her with her eyes unnaturally wide open. Jasmine asked what she was doing up in the middle of the night, and her mother replied, "I'm watching you sleep." Jasmine knew something was wrong. They kept staring at each other, and neither of them blinked. Jasmine somehow knew they were playing a game together, a game to see who would blink first. But what would happen if Jasmine blinked? She was terrified to find out. This figure in her bedroom was not her mother. It was in her eyes. It held something terrifying, something inhuman. Soon, this version of her mother began moving backwards, without blinking, turning around, or breaking eye contact. She just moved back until she reached Jasmine's closet, then opened the door and stepped inside, as if she'd been staying there this entire time. Jasmine kept staring at the closet, and without breaking eye contact, ran to her parents' room. There, she saw her mother on her bed, sleeping peacefully.
Part 2 of how my mom was putting my dad's ashes in me and my brother's dinner. Continuing on with the story, after I see her literally pouring my dad's ashes into our mashed potatoes, and I mean, this lady literally sees me staring at her pouring the ashes into our mashed potatoes, and she doesn't even say anything. I was just, a little shocked. So after that, I just kept quiet until after dinner, and I was mad at my brother that night, so I just let him eat the mashed potatoes. So after dinner, I went up to my mom and asked her why she was putting our dad's ashes in our food. And her exact words were, "Your father was a bad man. He wasn't meant to be here." I said, "What does that have to do with you putting his ashes in our dinner?" She goes, "It will just cleanse your soul. The witches told me to feed my children's father to them." Bish what? I ended up telling my brother, but then me and him decided not to ever say anything ever again because we don't want her little spirits telling them to do the same thing with us, so
Story time about my boyfriend's crazy ex-girlfriend. So a little background information. So his ex-girlfriend's parents, they owned a security company, which sold cameras, alarms, and a few other things. So at the end of 2019, my boyfriend broke up with his ex-girlfriend. And by March of 2020, he started seeing me. And at first we were just keeping things on the down low. Anyways, so after maybe 3 weeks of seeing my boyfriend, his ex sent me an Instagram message calling me a slut. It's the obsession for me. Anyways, what's even weirder is that she knew everything about my boyfriend and I, even the sexual things. Anyways, like I said, I thought that was really weird, so everything that she had sent me, I sent straight to him. Because I thought obviously that he had still been talking to her and had told her everything about us. But instantly he gave me his phone and said go through it, and he had her blocked on everything. So even though it was weird, we moved on from that situation. Well, fast forward another 2 weeks and his ex calls him while I'm at his house, like for part 2. Part 2 about my boyfriend's crazy ex-girlfriend. So like I said, she had called him while I was over his house. And somehow she keeps figuring out things about our sex life and personal things that we had told each other. So my boyfriend and I got super suspicious, obviously. Then we started to think, and we noticed that everything that she was telling us were things that we had talked about in his bedroom. And things that we had done. So we ransacked his whole room looking for anything. And what do you know, I found a mini security camera and a microphone pointing out of his walk-in wardrobe directly towards the bed. He took it to the police and tracked it back to her. So it turns out she had used the hidden spare key, which his mom kept under the mat at the front door, which she had known about from when they dated. So she broke into his house, planted a security camera from her dad's business in his wardrobe. So we decided not to press charges because her parents and my boyfriend's parents were friends. So they just talked it out and decided to punish her in their own way.
Story time of how I found out that I was dating my own brother. Yes, biological brother, same mom, same dad. So a little background information, my mom passed away when I was 2, my dad is currently in jail, and I live with my grandma. So at the time, I was 14, about to be 15, he was 17, about to be 18. So how this all started is one day I was at the baseball game with my friends and he happened to be there. I was fangirling over this boy. Like, I saw him and I was like, I'm going to marry him one day. I was feeling a little bold, so I went over and got his snap. And then I figured out that he had the same last name as me and I was like, dude, that is dope. My exact words were, now I don't have to change my last name when we get married. So we hung out the rest of the baseball game and I was starting to fall in love with this kid. Like his smile, his laugh, I talked about him to my friends the rest of the night. And me and him started snapping for a while. So we started to hang out a lot. We may have hooked up a couple times. But I had to keep this all secret from my grandma because she forbid I dated somebody. So fast forward a couple weeks, we start dating. Months and months and months go by. Our 9 months come and I finally tell my grandma. And this is where it gets bad. I'm running out of time, like for part 2. Okay, so I went to Target about 30 minutes ago. And I was looking for iPad cases, and the iPad cases and the phone cases are all together, but everything is locked up to prevent stealing. There was these 2 adorable girls. They were literally looked so cute and innocent. Piggy tails and everything. The mom or dad or parent or guardian or whatever was nowhere to be found. Well, like, wasn't by them. And at max, they were 4 and probably 7. They were tiny little adorable things. One of them pulls a hammer out of their, bag and starts hitting one of the phone case things. Trying to get it out of the security thing. I already knew what they were doing. And I was like, girls, you're not gonna be able to get that out of there. Just go to the cases over there. Because there was a little section of dollar cases that wasn't security protected. The 4-year-old or the younger one looks at me and goes, F you, B, but says the cuss words.
Hope you guys liked this video and found it helpful. If you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel. It does help support us and lets know what videos you guys want to see.